Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Spotlight Conversation. Today, we'll be introducing the CJL team and our space and asking what is environmental justice and how does it connect to what we do? So we've got our group here. We've got our director and student coordinators and myself, Annika Jokwal. I'm the fellow this year. And we also have our student coordinator, Kimia, joining us on the Zoom. So just to get started, I have been thinking a lot about the events we've been having lately that have connected to art and how art connects to environmental justice. So recently we've had an installation called Entering the Maze of Meaning and Connection with a resident artist that involved one of the environmental studies classes in making an interactive sculpture and maze, thinking about how we get our food and how we interact with it. And then we've also had an art-based event, which was a book launch with Paul Bogard and the creative writing department. And I think that art is a really good reason why people should care about environmental justice, because it shows the real diversity in the ways people can be involved and how people can have fun while talking about difficult topics and how you can really relate it to your own personal experience. Right, I'm going to pass it off to Kimia.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kimia, and I'm going to be talking about Patty Bourne's talk on climate and the climate conference. Basically, Patty Bourne was a guest speaker, and she came into the CJL in November of 2022 and gave a great talk connecting human rights issues and climate change and the Paris Agreement, talking about what led up to the Paris Agreement, how that impacts us today, and then also talking about things we can do moving forward. When people think about climate change, they don't necessarily think about human rights, but I feel like it is intersected, like Patty says, a lot in her talk, because, for example, fossil fuels are indirectly impacting people of color, minorities who live in low income areas, who have to deal with, for example, living next to like gas releases of gas or other terrible infrastructure. They are getting sick and they are getting harmed because of our use of fossil fuels. So yeah, I'm really interested in the questions of human rights and climate and environmental justice.
Hello, my name is Mariah. I'm another student coordinator here at the CJL. And something that I've been really interested in thinking about is, what are people's first impressions when they encounter the term environmental justice? I am not the environmental justice major at this table. I study political science and history. And so it's really interesting for myself to just find my place within this conversation and realize how connected just everything is with environmental justice. And so, for instance, I'm really excited that we're looking forward to having a conversation with Fern Renville, the executive director of the Lower Phalen Creek Project, to get students connected with Indigenous land learning and history and space and environment, and having all these conversations come together and realizing you don't need to be an environmental major. You don't need to be involved in like the hard sciences. You can be involved in many other things like myself and still find your place in this conversation, which I believe is something that Hannah has also found to be very interesting in this conversation.
Hi, I'm Hannah Brower. I'm also a student coordinator at the CJL, and I spend a lot of time thinking about what environmental justice is, what it means to me in like the areas that I'm particularly interested in. And the biggest thing that I've come to learn is that environmental justice is really intersectional, and it's everything. I can make the argument that almost any topic can be connected to environmental justice. And as an environmental studies and public health major, especially, I also think everything is also health, whether that's environmental health or the health of individuals and communities. And two events that we had that I think really reinforced the fact that environmental justice is just kind of everything was our Not Your Parents' Environmentalism event, and also environmental justice at the root of everything, which focused on national security, business, life, and law. Those two events, I think, really showed students both in and out of the program that, again, everything is environmental justice because we live on the same planet and we're all impacted by the same things, but in different ways. And one way that I personally am working to continue that conversation about how environmental justice touches everything is through my student org, the Hamline Environmental Education Project, or HEAP. We're hosting a full week-long event for Earth Day, which we're calling Earth Week. That's going to touch on a bunch of different topics. There's going to be an event held by the CJL that talks about reparations and mobility and transportation within the cities. We're going to have a trash pickup day where we travel to Interstate State Park to spend some time in nature and just kind of see what litter has accumulated and in what ways. And then we're also going to have a keynote speaker that's going to talk about sustainability and the way that sustainability is kind of being approached in our communities.
Hello, my name is Olivia. I'm also a student coordinator here at the CJL. One thing that really strikes me when I think about environmental justice is reparations, but not reparations just for like the earth, but also reparations for the people that live on this earth and any wrongdoings that have happened. I think reparations is something that has recently come about and is really involved here in St. Paul. Just recently, we had a panel with Traherne Cruz and Melvin Giles, and they are very involved with the St. Paul Reparation Act, which just passed this last year, which is aiming to repair wrongdoings that happened at the Rondo neighborhood and also just in general for Black people in St. Paul. For me, also reparations isn't just about the people, but also reparations to the earth and also our connection to it. And with that, we do have a couple of gardens here at Hamline that we're looking for interns to be a part of for this spring and summer. And all the produce that is grown at the micro farm and the Precinct Appreciation Garden go to the Food Resource Center, which aims to fight food insecurity on campus for students and also for community members. And also this spring and summer, we're looking to connect with other gardens around the city and other universities that also have gardens to kind of build that community in gardening. And now I will pass it on to our director, Valentine.
Thanks, Olivia, and thank you all. I am Valentine Cadieux. I'm the director of the Center for Justice and Law here at Hamline, and I'm so grateful to get to work with this crew of fellows and student coordinators. It's been a fantastic year, and we're also really excited about the year we're planning. So following up on that panel with Traherne and Melvin, we have a panel this week that will be about where we go next with reparations. So with William Moore and Dominique Thiago-Cash, environmental justice and health justice organizers here in the Twin Cities, helping us think both about the garden, the Recovery Act for St. Paul, and other efforts that we both who identify in environmental justice, but also who work more broadly, the intersection of racial justice, or just people who really want to keep living on the earth, which we think is probably a pretty universal request that people have at this point, but there's a role for everyone in this work. As we think about environmental justice, we have tried really hard this year to connect it to everything. I think some of the other upcoming events will help give a sense of some of those connections and the connections that are already built in our community. So on March 30th, we're very excited to be hosting Hamline creative writing faculty Erin Sharkey to talk about her recently released book, Darker Wilderness. It's about Black nature writing from soil to stars. And that will be on March 30th at the GLC Gallery from 5 to 6 p.m. She'll be in conversation with Amy Sheehan from the libraries, talking about this work, which came very much out of her work with the Minnesota Prison Writing Project, and thinking about the artifacts of from Black garden almanacs to other artifacts in collections, how those spur us to think about our own relationship with nature and how that's potentially a quite liberatory project back in the art-based methods of working through environmental justice. We're also going to be hosting with the Reconciliation Lunch Group in May, so the second Thursday of May, the lunchtime Reconciliation Lunch Group will be here at Hamline, launching back into the in real life reconciliation lunch groups. They've been on Zoom for all of COVID so far. And we're hoping that with that programming and with the end of the term here at Hamline, we can also host a celebration of some urban ag zine projects that have happened with Zia Akhmatova and with some folks from the community around mobility justice, transportation justice, some of those intersecting threads of environmental justice as they show up in our community. So thanks so much for tuning in to our spotlights, and thank you, team, for being part of this conversation.
Thank you, Valentine. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And just a reminder that this conversation has been hosted in the CJL space, which is West Hall 240. And it's a place that is welcome to all students. So if you want to come check it out, we have question and suggestion box. We have a policy reading nook, and it's being revitalized to be a more community-centered place where we can have great conversations and build more connections and relationships through Hamline and our broader community. Thank you.
Fabulous.
You guys have a great rest of your day.
You as well.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
And happy spring.
Bye.
Bye-bye.